All right, it is the first day of April. Thank you so much for trusting us to bring you up to speed with what you're waking up to here on the program. My name is Brian Amwai, and yes, I had missed you. Welcome back and welcome me back here on set to have a conversation that matters on the state of affairs in the country, looking at what affects you as a citizen, and later on, of course, have a conversation on the state of the war, that is the US, Israel, and of course, Iran war. We'll be speaking to the ambassador of Iran to Kenya, that is Dr. Ali Golamampur, who will be speaking to us from 8 a.m. all the way to 9 a.m. to try and make sense of exactly how that war gets to affect us as a citizen, and what are the steps when it comes to attempts to end the war that is in the Middle East at the moment. Right now, we do want to take a look at what you're waking up to. I'll be introducing my guests later on who are going to help us make sense of the state of affairs in the country. A lot is happening from the political scene all the way to matters social. We'll be getting into that in this 1 hour. But right now, I want us to take a look at the People Daily and what the top story on the People Daily is reporting this particular morning. We have inside Joho's push for deputy presidency. This is the top story on the People Daily, looking at exactly what the people of the coastal region are looking for in regards to political expediency, especially in, when it comes to the ODM-UDA working relationship that we've been able to witness in the past few days. Of course, this is a story on page 4. We'll be getting deeper into it to try and make sense of exactly what the People Daily is reporting. Another top story on the PD is next battlefield, Kindiki Gachagua to face off in Olkalau seat mini poll. That is a story on page 3 of the People Daily. We'll also be trying to make sense of that later on. Another top story that has been highlighted on the top page of the People Daily is County Watch. Why is Taita Taveta broke despite sitting on ruby deposits? That is page 13 of the People Daily. These are top stories that are being highlighted on the People Daily. We'll be getting deeper into that to try and make sense of exactly what they mean for us as the citizens of this country. Let us take a look at what the Daily Nation has on the front page. And this has to do with the tenure ends for DCI boss that is haunted by abductions. Now, change of guard. A 2-year contract for the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Director Mohammed Amin, ends today. Mr. Amin secured the contract extension in 2024 after attaining the mandatory retirement age of 60 years. It was not immediately clear whether he will stay or his successor will be appointed. That is a story on page 6 of the People Daily. We also do have another top story here. Governors revive extortion claims after Sakaja siege. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja turned up at the Senate yesterday after evading police arrest on Monday for snubbing summons to appear before the County Public Accounts Committee to respond to audit queries. Now, the Council of Governors protested the arrest warrants issued against county chiefs and accused the Senate leadership of ignoring bribery claims leveled against some senators. That is a story on page 7. And of course, you do see the picture of that is Johnson Sakaja. Security officers led by Nairobi Regional Commander Isa Mohamud camped outside the office of Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja on Monday in an attempt to arrest him for failing to appear before the Senate County Public Accounts Committee to respond to audit queries. This is a top story on the Daily Nation. We also have YTSC is doing an audit of teachers, a story on page 10. But before we continue, let me just engage my guests here on this particular story in regards to the tenure that the tenure ends for DCI boss haunted by abductions and how he's going to be remembered. Fidel, good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Having a good day?
It's starting.
Does it look promising though?
The day?
Yeah.
Given the economic status, I wouldn't say.
Okay. Abi Zuena, how are you?
Good. Good morning, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I can't complain.
Good.
We thank God for today.
Yes, indeed.
Let us start with this one. Tenure ends for DCI boss haunted by abductions. You know, for the past 2 years or should I say 2 or 3? This abductions has been the order of the day in this particular country. Right now, this tenure comes to an end. The Daily Nation reports that it has been extended for 2 years, and we had no idea. How would you remember this one? Let me start from there.
Well, being a young person in this country, I mean, our relationship with this institution is quite dark. I mean, just this week alone, there's a young man, not a young man, there's a man who's died in a police cell again in Nakuru County. And they've said he hit his head on the cells again.
The same thing that we witnessed
The same
for
thing,
Albert Ojwang.
Albert Ojwang. So, I mean, everything that this institution and the security forces of this country does just continuously traumatizes us as young people. In Laikipia University alone, when they went to demonstrate against the death of their comrade who died because he was going to the Subukia Falls, and they called the ambulance. There was a lot of delay. They watched their, young comrade die right there without accessing medical services. And then when they went to the streets to demonstrate, a young man called Ian Mutai was shot on the chest and died. Government has said nothing about it. 6 and 7 other students are in hospital, nursing wounds on the same. And so what I can say is we have no trust with this institution. The legitimacy of any government is on the capability that they have to protect lives, and they have proven that is not their agenda. And this trickles down even to now that we are in a political season, what is happening even in rallies, what is happening behind the scenes, the kind of level of intimidation and harassment we are facing, some of us that are in the opposition. And so at this day and age, security begins and ends with you. You cannot rely on this government to protect you, to safeguard your life, to assure you that you're going to wake up in the morning alive. Anything can happen between now and then. So you live your life literally today as if it's your last one. Yeah.
Fidel,
Yes.
what would you desire for the next DCI boss to act like or be like?
I think the constitution stipulates well how people who are appointed to such kind of offices should act. But the problem with how these positions are given out in Kenya is that they are a reward to political cronies. That's why when the government came in, they said that we really are not going to repeat what we saw about when the previous regime was there.
Yeah, Rivial and all that.
Yeah, with that. But immediately we had dissenting voices when the youth came out to ask about accountability in governance, and the youth were saying that we really need systems to work for us. The vocals were abducted. If you are not able to be compromised, it led to abductions. And it was abduction in such a way that they abduct you, and when there's public outrage, they now come and admit that you have done something wrong. And to some instances, they used to abduct people and then go leave them out in forests. So meritocracy in these appointment positions is never there, has not been there, let me say that, because the people who are given here are under some balloon of what I call political patronage. They work to serve the executive, not to serve the people. These positions are created so that services can reach the people. So they're not there to serve the people. So according to me, I'll say that it's good his tenure is coming to an end, but my question is, whoever comes next, are you going to uphold the constitution, or are we going to see you snub court orders like they did, abduct people, and all sorts of things like that?
Should there be some sort of accountability, people being held accountable after their time in office, especially if you held a public office that has quite a huge responsibility on the state of security, especially in the country and all that. If at all it comes to an end, should people face the sins that are committed when you are in office? Is that are we ever going to get to that point as a country?
Yes, when we get this government out of office, because even currently, it takes the court an arm and a length to even get a DCI boss in court to admit or just produce somebody who's been abducted, and their first line of defense is, no, it's not us. And yet, when we trace back the evidence that is, provided by citizens, because citizens have had to become their own police and their own surveillance. So we're happy we're in the era of digital, surveillance, and people are able to record videos and take photos. When you follow that, we are able to see that these same characters are the same ones that are in these forces, and yet their boss, goes even ahead of, in front of a judge and a court and denies live. The case of Rex Masai is still ongoing, and what we've seen, a whole police officer that was recorded saying it was not me, literally. And so we completely have zero faith in even the next person that is going to take office. We have zero faith in this government holding the security, personnel that are in charge accountable. What we need is a complete regime change so that we can rewire ourselves back and just go back to what the Constitution says in terms of holding leaders and public servants accountable in their mandate, yes.
Okay. I want us to take a look at the headline on the Standard before we come back to the People Daily and look at exactly what is happening in the coastal region. And the Standard says 2 years after the government promised a cheaper cooking gas, the country's strategy is facing a stark reversal. A failed Saudi-backed deal has stalled plans to expand supply, while new levies have sharply raised costs. The broken pledge risks pushing struggling households back to charcoal and firewood, eroding clean energy gains and exposing families to higher health and environmental risks as the cost of living continues to climb. This is a story on page 4 of the Standard, and the numbers are there with regards to what this is going to, how this is going to affect the people. And you're talking about LPG deal collapse. It's at 2.5 billion Kenya shillings, the value of an agreement the government failed to secure with Saudi Aramco, derailing plans to expand LPG supply, distribute 8.4 million cylinders, and stabilize prices. There are also growing concerns. Consumers Federation of Kenya and others say the tax hike contradicts clean energy policy, lacks public participation, and reflects over-reliance on OPEC petroleum taxation. We also have the broken pledge in 2023 when the Kenya Kwanza administration promised to lower LPG prices. And in 2028, the country is expected to achieve universal clean cooking. Recent developments undermine this target that is backed by President William Ruto. And sharp tax hike, we are looking at 5 shillings, the new petroleum development levy, which is an increase from 0.40 cents per kilo. That's quite a high when it comes to that. That is what the Standard is reporting this particular morning as far as energy is concerned in the country. And of course, the photo of the Energy Cabinet Secretary Opiyo Ndai, they are displayed on the front page of the Standard. Let us go back to the People Daily, look at the story from the coastal region and how that could be shaping the politics of 2027. And inside Joho's push for the deputy presidency, that is a story on page 4 of the People Daily. Let us take a look at that and of course try to make sense of exactly what that means for the country. Let me, yes. All right, so it says the push to position Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs, Hassan Joho, as a 2027 running mate has gained significant momentum. The move seems to be shaping into a formidable political agenda, particularly in the coast region, with a majority of the region's political leadership following the same script of advocating for Joho as Kenya's next deputy president. Now, the real force behind the ambitious push remains unclear, but political undertones in the region suggest the push is not ordinary political talk. Recently, a local political aspirant was forced to cut short a live radio interview after receiving a barrage of calls from unknown individuals. He had reportedly dismissed Joho as a coward just moments earlier. He eventually excused himself and fled the station. Now, this fear of Joho was equally palpable during the Linda Mwananchi rally at Tononoka grounds on March 29, 2026, where some leaders opted to stay away entirely, with only a brave few among the Linda Mwananchi affiliates openly challenged Joho's influence. Beneath the slogans and applause, however, lies a deliberate story driven by power, geography, political survival, and the unfinished business of Kenya's coalition politics. A public gathering in Mombasa, leaders like Mombasa Governor Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir has described Joho's candidacy as a question of inclusion. And of course, this has been very evident if you focus on the politics of the Linda ground team, especially the ones that were happening in Mombasa, recently.
Linda Mwananchi.
Okay, there's the Linda Mwananchi, but the Linda ground where most of the political leaders, from the coastal region who stand up to speak were championing for Joho, a deputy presidency, and a ticket between Joho and Ruto. That will be killer ticket, quote unquote, for the 2027 politics. Does it hold water, Fidel?
Joho is a prominent figure in the political scene, but the people matrix matters. Where is Joho at? Who is he standing with? You might be very popular and likable to the people, but you are working with the wrong person. There is no way, but more often than not, it says that when you have a rotten, let's say, banana in a sack, it will affect everyone. That's what is affecting his candidature. Had he been with the people like he has long stood since he was MP in Mombasa and then to govern, I believe Joho would have stood a big chance in terms of pushing forward to achieve what he has. And I'll give an example. I've seen you say that there are fears from people who were doing a live TV. Even us, when we were going to Kitengela, I remember the group we were traveling to, because I attended the Kitengela Linda Mwananchi rally. The group we were with from Mombasa were saying that Joho's people were not amazed because his people are not with him, they are with the people, and they are pushing him towards coming back and leaving the government. So it's food for thought, yes, but I really believe that Joho stands a good chance, but not with Ruto. Nobody's going to vote Ruto in. He'll get votes, yes, from some quarters of people who think that they should still absorb a failed regime, but it doesn't work. Because look at the kind of story you have read before this Joho one. The government has failed to deliver on its promises. Out of 251 promises that the government gave, it has only done 24, which translates to 9.56%. So that's a strong E. And you know, you don't judge a government by what it's trying to do. You judge it by what it has done given the time frame. If you look at the Better Manifesto and the timelines given to achieve this thing, in the first 100 days, they have not even achieved more than 30 things.
Okay.
So looking at what the government has done and its interaction with the people, I believe Joho stands no chance when he becomes deputy president to William Ruto.
Allow me to digress a little bit because yes, they've done minimal when it comes to delivering on the promises they had given to Kenyans. But some of the arguments that have been given around have been, some of the promises we made are continuous. They're not things that you achieve immediately. What do you say to that?
So I'll give you an example. Let us look at NHIF and SHA. NHIF, SHA, if you look at the document that SHA is, it is an improvement to NHIF. But why are people complaining about SHA? It's because the amount of money looting that is happening into this scheme is too high. I'll give you an example. It is common logic, and it is something that the medical practitioners can attest to, that a mother cannot give birth 10 times in a year. But SHA is paying that amount for a year for the same patient. You cannot perform 4 heart surgeries within the same day, but it has happened in SHA. We were talking, the first flagged looting corruption scandal in SHA was the 11 billion thing. If you look at the charges being pressed by the ODPP, is that there are some people who created fake nursing homes and money was to be sent there. And in some, you know, you cannot press charges for something that has not been sent. It is that the corruption has happened. So in that, we have cartels who have infiltrated this system and looted such kinds of money. We have irregular payments that are being made to hospitals that have not even subscribed to the scheme. SHA is an insurance scheme, and we all know that insurance schemes make very enormous profits. So with the kind of contribution that Kenyans are having, if this SHA cannot cater for the services of the people, then it means the government, and you remember, the government has spent 104 billion to better this system. So if NHIF that was supposed to be made better by almost 800 million was scrapped away, you take 104 billion to make a system, and then this kind of monetary pilferage is happening, then even a mad person can attest to it that the system is not working. And I can mention that. Let's look even at sports. The Atlanta Stadium. We are building one of the most expensive stadiums in the world. We are almost a year into hosting AFCON. But look at what CAF is saying, that the level and standard of the football pitches we have, including the Atlanta Stadium, which is even better according to the people in government, cannot even host. It is just considered as a training ground. So you ask yourself, why are we paying this 44.79 billion to build this stadium at an interest rate of almost 100 billion, which we are going to accrue to build something that is going to be used as a training ground? Remember, we have already paid the $30 million hosting rights. So ask yourself, after paying this 30 million hosting rights, what happens to us if we are not able to achieve whatever we thought? But look at counties, for example. How much have counties spent in building, allegedly, the international stadiums they have? Look at Kisumu, Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu and these things. So if you look at these ministries, the government is not achieving what it laid out. The government laid out a program here called 15 billion trees, meant to make Kenya an environmental powerhouse.
Maybe I can also just...
But right now, look at, I was looking at the report about the billions that have been squandered by this county since the devolution started. And remember, the president who is in power now is part of the people who started this, because they came in right after the constitution was promulgated. So there is continuous diverging into what is not meant to help the Kenyan citizens. So I think you're not going to achieve
You've gotten into our next conversation of the state of affairs, because now you're just giving a break, step by step in regards to what you think is wrong with this government and what the country is currently under at the moment. Let me come to you before we transition.
Yeah.
On the issue to do with this, what you're talking about inside Joho's jostle to become Kenya's deputy president. What's your take on that?
I'll say this, having attended the Tononoka rally.
What was the mood there?
The Linda Mwananchi, and I can tell you for sure the people are not with Joho and the current governors and all these leaders, I would call them political neglects, that are now pushing for this deputy president position. And I know even the president knows this. There is no numbers Joho would bring to him. When you hear, like what you've said, somebody goes to the radio and they are threatened, even us when we were going to the ground, there were clear threats and intimidation that were being done towards us. As young women, and I know I was mentioning this to my friend Fidel, and I was afraid to say some of these things, but we are receiving threats as far as, if you set foot in Mombasa, you're going to be gang raped and you're not going to be safe. Yes. By our intelligence on the ground, because we have youth leaders and we had to work with a team of very brave young people the whole night, ensuring that everything is okay, ensuring that Tononoka grounds are safe for people to hold the rally the next day and so forth. It took the security of the people of Mombasa County to ensure that we got there safely, from the SGR to where we were sleeping. Even during them even staying with us where we were sleeping, they were like, we won't leave you guys and you will not feel unsafe in this town. 2 days even before the rally, and guys were telling us they were personally being called by some of these leaders and being told, tusikuone kwa hiyo rally. That is the reign of Joho and his minions. And it's coming to an end. What we did in Tononoka was empower people to remember that they have the power. And whether these leaders have this perceived power that they have given themselves and this money, because they do have money, the power belongs to the people, and the people shall mandatorily exercise this power. And what the people of Mombasa showed us that day, by coming out in numbers, was them saying, we are tired of these leaders that have neglected our key issues as the people of Mombasa. That there is no water. The people of Mombasa were giving us their issues in a paper. Hakuna maji safi, bado tunakunywa maji ya chumvi. You walk into that town, the governor of Mombasa should be very embarrassed, because sewer and garbage are mixed together in a town like Mombasa that hosts a lot of tourism. Key industries have been dead for the longest time, where young people lost a lot of jobs. And so they were saying, even if these people have, like Hassan, CS Hassan has been given a whole cabinet minister job, we are not feeling his power as he's representing us in the executive. And please remember, the narrative of Joho has always been, hatujawahi yekwa huku juu, no wonder hatuja develop kama coast. But sasa kwa huko juu. And so they are saying, even with you being there, there's no impact we are feeling.
So let me ask, and I think it's an important conversation for a nation to have.
Yes.
What was the point of devolution if all of us want to eye at the executive most of the time?
Thank you. But what I like about the failures of this government is that people have also been able to devolve their accountability processes. And I'm happy the people of Mombasa were saying, governor tunajua kazi yake ni hii na hii na hii na hajafanya. Kwa hivyo haezi sema ati ni juu hako huko juu. Na juu hata sasa tumeona mtu ameenda juu, lakini bado hatu feel hii service yenye nasema ilikuwa inatuletea chini. I'm happy that this regime has proven itself as a failure, because the people of Kenya have cared enough to read and understand the functions of devolved functions between the county and the national government, and they are able to hold each leader accountable based on their mandate to them. But I can tell you for sure, even if we were to run a poll in Mombasa, CS Joho cannot, oh my God, the numbers would not even number. He cannot be a top contender for a deputy president, for whoever wants to be a presidential candidate in this country. That one I can bet my life on it. Yeah.
Now we are moving to the state of affairs. Listen, I want us to talk about something that she mentioned in regards to the political, threats that people face whenever you want to visit a ground that is considered "quote unquote" hostile or not your strong point. Should I say? Can I say
Yes,
that?
yes,
Exactly. Fidel, you are in the political scene. You hang around these, politicians. You are a politician yourself. You are in the opposition to that matter. Do you face this? Is it very common in the political scene that you'll get threats even before you touch down in Kitengela, Mombasa, whichever?
That's why they say that politics is a dirty game. And I don't blame people who are allied to, let's say, the former governor for threatening people not to come there. It's part of the game. People want to hold their constituents. And as she has said, these politicians have money. And you know, the gap between us and them to cross to leadership is the monetary muscles that they have. So there are threats there, but it's also how you deal with the threats. But sometimes it goes beyond. Governor Abdul Swamad had some guy who was critiquing his government. The guy was molested.
That's also,
Yes.
We have yesterday night, Sami Kioko was demanding payment for a contract that they had done. Simply for calling out Machako's government for not paying the contract. He's now in hospital.
Yeah.
We can mention very many people who have done the same thing. So it's usually threats after threats by these politicians. But I would also like to put out that the leaders you elect mirror. I have heard you say that people are in government. Like right now, people from our community, there is a section that is chest thumping. You know, we are in government. I wonder what government we are in if we only have one CS. We only have Opio Wandai as a Luo CS, leave alone John Badi is a Suba and a Suba is a Bantu. Let alone those assimilated stories that we are being told that they have been assimilated into Luos. So when someone from your community is in government, does not mean that you as a community is there. You do not earn from the salary. Okay. And that is a national position. It is not meant to serve people from Mombasa, Nyanza, Meru, Turkana, or whatnot. We have a school coming from Turkana. Has Turkana been receiving gold here and there? No. So they are here to serve matters in their different dockets. Okay. We are looking at performance. How have they performed there? Their performance is not now melted down to a specific region where they come from. The question, that now begs the question of tribalism. Because according to some communities, you'll hear the leaders pushing that narrative to show you that if you are there, then we will achieve what we want, and that's not usually the case. That's why you see, you cannot buy in such an area if you're not alienated to a given politician who at the moment is very famous, if I may use that word there. So we also need to look at this. We also need to look at the game at that length. That the politicians that we have are the ones pushing the tribal card towards us, the youth and the citizens of the country. Okay.
Are we likely to make a difference? Because now I see now to Kokadi, almost you Kokadi.
Thank you.
Good. Fidel najua Kokadi.
The difference can be made if you make a deliberate decision to choose an ideology that works for the country rather than populism. I'll give you an example. When, and this I'm not saying, I should not be misquoted for not wanting the president. Yes. If he does something good, I believe when Chan was happening, I was the first people to say that I went to the stadium and I saw something different from
we even forgot about politics and
from the renovation.
Right.
But let us look at the track record of someone. What have you been doing? The president now has been accused of corruption. He worked with Jirongo. Jirongo said that the president stole some money when they were together for printing shirts. Jirongo is now dead. When Raila was prime minister, they sacked him, that there was looting in his ministry. That is now gone. We had the accusations of Aurora and Kimwarer Dam. You have something like Eurobond. The president right now was the one who was defending Eurobond when information was not out. But when we discovered that after borrowing $2 billion from JP Morgan Chase and then 1 billion was transferred to a personalized account in Qatar, they went silent. So look at this person and look at the person you want to elect. Is what Fidel telling you, does it really, if you look at it very well, internalize it and then problematize whatever he's telling you, is it really going to work towards bettering the country? If it is not, then you have a conscious decision to choose Abby over me. Because you, at that moment, then you know that she's going to do according to her manifesto what is going to better you. Like right now, the problem of unemployment, it can be solved in very many ways. Not these theatrics we are seeing about Nyota here. We have systems that, you know, the government, the political signaling that the government is doing is at very high stakes. Nyota is empowering 70 youths. If you look at the document, 70 youth per ward during the first tranche of monetary disbursement. And if you multiply that by 1450, they are aiming at targeting approximately 100,000 to 101,000 people. But when the politicians go out to the streets, they tell you that we want to target 800,000 people. 1 month ago, when we were doing analysis of the people who have gotten the money, out of 10, 7 youth will tell you that I did not even start that business. Me, I had that money.
Okay, but that is the principal secretary for MSMEs, that is Susan Mangeni, said that a huge percentage of young people that took the money have started their businesses, close to over 90%.
But
You know,
which
there's
business?
what
Look at
PS
the
says, can we see the data, can we see these young
Look-
people,
look-
can we
also
see the
look at the
documentation
funds.
of these businesses that they've opened? And that's the thing with this government, all they do is just give blanket numbers, and there's no evidentially support what they are saying. And I'll agree with what he's saying. As we are getting towards this political season, we must look at the history of someone. If we were keen enough to look at the current president and what his history told us about him, we would not be in this mess. We had gotten to a point where people are saying, I say people because I was not in that wagon, were saying, ni mwizi wetu, tutampatia kura, ni mwizi wetu. They owned the thief. So why are we surprised now that there is theft and corruption that has been trickled down to all government offices up to the chief level? This is why Coco Energy cannot survive in Kenya.
Yes.
They were regulatory. They were all of a sudden government said they have not complied to the regulatory standards we've given them. But Coco Energy has been providing affordable renewable energy to Kenyans. Now they have exited the market. That's why now people are back to charcoal.
That's what
And
you are
let's be
reading
honest,
here.
that's what we are reading here. Policies are unable to survive in this government because of theft, corruption, and everybody wants a kickback all the way to the watchman of a building, which is very, very sad. And it starts with the head of the state.
Okay. How do we change that? Does the Nico Kadi campaign right now offer the solution that the country is looking for, or is just another campaign that
The Nico Kadi campaign offers part of the solution, and this is what it offers. It's inviting young people to stop making a lot of noise online and advocating outside there and be part of the process. By first understanding why they need to participate in the electoral process, why they need to take up their voter's card, why they need to show up on the voting day to vote, and why they need to protect their vote. Please remember in the last election, 8 million people did not wake up to vote. That is a very worrying trend. And so this campaign is structured it's a 3-phase process. And so even as we go to various towns, like yesterday we were in Nakuru, we were telling people why they need to take the, your card. So we're not just saying, endo chukue voter's card. We're telling them, you're in Nakuru County, we're in the market, there is a very big pothole with water here. Hii ni kazi ya governor. Kazi yake ni kukuletea. Usipochukua kura, hata huwezi pigia governor na MCA mwenye anastahili kuwa na hold governor accountable. Because the first president of a ward is an MCA. So we were having these conversations with them and instilling this civic education to remind them at the end of the day, they have the civil responsibility and right to actually vote in leaders that will align with, the kind of services that they want. Trickling down information in very understandable language for them to conceptualize what it means when we say chukua kadi no kwe kadi. Because even when you play a poker game with your friends over the weekend, it's a game. And whoever says niko kadi na namaliza game wins. And so we are telling people you must have that kadi ndio ushinde. Na kushinda ni kwanza uchukue hiyo kadi, angalia viongozi wanakuja kukuzia sera. Look at these leaders, look at their track record. Look at what they're bringing to you. Look at who they are, understand them. Interact with them, hold them accountable before you can even go and give them that kura. And how people carry out themselves during the campaign will tell you who they are, who they're going to be once they have taken their seats. They will show you their colors.
Zuena, listen. We have seen the public complain about leaders whom they claim during the campaign period were totally a different character compared to who they are right now in office. If we say we are going to judge people based on what they come to sell to us, how do we make it, decipher and say, okay, what you're selling to me, I don't think this is who you really are, because most people have believed leaders to only get disappointed. I'd like to believe that not every leader that is a disappointment appeared like a disappointment from the onset.
No, but like what Fidel said, first you look at the history of someone. And second, we're in a digital era, we are able to actually interrogate the history of someone. We sit like this, like for example, when members of parliament are now having a whole cultural change or a whole pronouncement change, and they're saying, yes, indeed, this is wrong. We're able to revive even old videos and photos and pronounce them of them saying contradictory conversation and statements, and we're able to say, but you said this at one point. We're not saying you can't change your opinion, but tell us the thought process of you from point A to B. There has not been a consistency of your messaging and a consistency of your leadership in the various spaces that you have held small power. When we look, for example, at Senator Edwin Sifuna, we're able to look at who he has been from day one, how he has stood with the people, how he has always emphasized the importance of adherence to the rule of law, how he has been very adamant in matters of, very,
performance in his seat.
Convicted on issues of following the law, representation of the people, protecting democracy and the right of people. We are able to see, okay, yes, you can bet for sure. Based on that track record of Edwin Sifuna, we can confidently say, and also being involved in these leaders and aligning with them and holding them accountable in the various platforms and spaces you are in. Okay. Knowing as young people that first, one, leaders are not perfect. We cannot hold them in a perfect pedestal. Even us ourselves, we walk around with our imperfections, only that they are not, all in the public domain. And so then what are we going to do with these imperfect leaders as we work with them, mentor them, advise them, hold them accountable, call them out? The same thing Kenyans have been doing to the president, only that he has taken a completely different attitude and said, you are wrong, I am right, you don't know what you're saying. He doesn't allow himself to be held accountable. Okay. He doesn't agree when things go wrong. He has never even to date admitted that indeed young people were killed. And his government is responsible. He said this, we will compensate. He has never said, I am sorry, we did this, I failed, we can do better. Simple words. Wacha nikikukosea, Fidel, the most I am sorry.
And it is also leadership to admit that one has failed. Okay.
Even that itself, never.
If you admit that you have failed, are you not inviting room for the call for your resignation? Because if you admit you failed, you are not fit to lead.
Let me tell you something. You see, that's why she says that everybody is not perfect. We also have our own faults. If you admit you have failed, like how the president admitted during the finance bill, that is why some things like...
Did he admit he has failed or he was wrong?
He admitted. Why did he cancel the finance bill? Okay. Then if he thinks that he was perfect in it.
Only that he didn't admit.
Only that he cancelled it and then they came back using backdoor to do that. But anyway, going back to your question of how we can do this, I want to jog the minds of Kenyans by telling them, we collect a revenue of almost 3.3 trillion from different sources. We have tax, profits from parastatals, if there be. But 2.3 trillion of this money goes to debt. So meaning that from every 100 shillings that you have, 78% goes to servicing debt. So at this, we are left with a deficit as a country. So it is not just about us identifying the problems. What solutions do we have? So we are saying, if you are paying 2.3 trillion, I have mentioned to you about the Eurobond loan that we have. We have things like Aurora and Kimwarer Dam. We have projects that have been funded in this country, but they have stalled, and we really don't know where the money went to. You have 1 billion that has been allocated to build an hospital, but when you go there, you only find a foundation of the same hospital. So our question is, where is this money going to? So point number one, let us audit these debts that we have. Let us have a clear forensic audit so that we determine we are paying Brian, who was contracted to do a studio for the youth, or an IT hub in somewhere like Turkana or Todonyang. Are we paying Brian because Brian did the work? If he did the work, yes, pay. If he did not, don't pay it. But let us start an investigation into why he did not do the work and money has been dispersed to him.
Okay.
When you talk about youth employment, solving the crisis is very easy. The government should stop domestic borrowing. It happened here during Kibaki's time. For those our viewers who are here can attest to that. Government is borrowing at an interest rate of 14%, while a common mwananchi is being given the same loan at 20%. But why do banks easily go to the government? Because it is easy for them to collect these things.
Yeah.
A government will default and they'll take a parastatal. A government will default and they'll take collateral, let's say land or buildings or such sort of things. So let the government stop domestic borrowing. You cannot borrow almost 830 billion domestically. What is left then for the citizens to borrow? We are talking about healthcare. Yesterday I was discussing with a CC called Ibrahim Auma. He works in Nairobi County, and I was telling him, we were discussing about the level of education we have in Nyanza. So we looked at this, and I have really developed love for this county called Murang'a, and specifically Kiharu constituency. So we were looking
seems to
at
be the benchmark, but anyway, fine.
we were looking at 2 ECDs there. You know, I have not seen something of that sort even in private schools.
Yeah.
The level of professionalism and delivery towards work that is mandated to you there is exceptional. So we are looking at this, and we were sharing and saying, if this constituency can do such an ECD school, then why are MPs in our areas protesting? The chair of budget right now told us that when Ndindi Nyoro was in the same office, Ndindi used to allocate almost 2 billion to himself.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I come from the same constituency that he comes from, why is he also not allocating the same 2 billion to himself so that it works for people of this constituency? It tells you that when tyranny and when we elect people who do not know what they want to do in government, if you elect a poor performer, you get poor results. Let's go to healthcare. Funding healthcare is easy. I'm telling you that we have looting here. For you to get services for SHA, you must pay a mandatory 6,000. Why should Brian pay that mandatory 6,000 if when we go to SHA is generally an insurance scheme, but when we go to where the money falls to, we find a situation where money is being looted because its profits are coming in excess, yet it's supposed to serve the citizens of the country. When you talk about education, which I've mentioned, education should work for the people. Look at CBC. Go to all these private schools. There is something very common that is happening within them. Majority want to shift to the British system.
Okay.
Simply because they cannot stay put to whatever is happening now. And lastly, if you want to employ this youth, and if you want this youth to work for you, why don't we reduce the taxes we have? She has mentioned cocoa industries. Majority of people here in these slum areas and densely populated areas, you will see them every 5 p.m. to almost 7 p.m. carrying there's usually the jerrycan, the blue and white jerrycan they carry when they are doing that. You are talking about charcoal. These people are also burning leaves to cook.
Yeah.
That is how bad this thing is. And remember, they were getting LPG gas, the cocoa thing, to even as less as 10 shillings, 20. So we need to change the kind of tax burdens we are leveraging on these industries. They will not employ. That's why we have heavy retrenchment in this country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Heavy.
You're also thinking
Don't do
yourself as
that.
something like
Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. So the solution right now, and I am part of the conversation in regards to believing that we still have a chance when it comes to offering a better solution for this country. But now the kind of solution that we need to offer needs to be a permanent solution. How do we offer a permanent solution so that we don't have this conversation in 2029 again and you're like, okay, we've been very disappointed again, and let's have this conversation in regards to how we get to change this country. Where does the mindset start changing? Do we start with the leadership or do we start with the people? Who exactly needs this sensitization more?
I think we start with the people, and you start with yourself. You as a person, who are you, what role have you played in putting bad leaders in this country? How has been your voting cycle or election cycle. Have you been swayed by money? Have you been, voter bribery has influenced you? Have you aligned with a leader because of the benefits that he gives you directly and not the benefit of the community or society that you live in? So it starts with us. It has to be a whole mindset shift. It mandates us to go back and understand our constitution, understand the devolved functions of national and county government, understand the mandate and functioning of an MCA, of a member of parliament, of a senator, of a governor, of a president and the executive, the three arms of the government and their responsibilities and mandate as stipulated by the constitution. And it starts also with us following the rule of law in our day-to-day activities, even as we gear towards going to this very intense electoral process that is going to be very heavily funded, especially because the government has looted very heavily from us. It goes back to us continuously doing civic education in our various platforms, and I'm very happy with what the young people are doing on TikTok, on Facebook, on X. Every day waking up to interrogate very complex documents that would ideally just exhaust someone, and breaking down complex issues. Like when I want to understand debt, I listen to their party. I listen to Jimmy Wanjigi. He's a guy who was very vocal about debt from the word go. He's the one who made me care about debt. I never used to care about it. I never used to understand how it affects me. But the moment he would go to radio stations and TV stations and breaks it down, you would understand it. But if I go to Treasury and get that, I am like, no, this is too much, and I have so much to do. But young people are demystifying these very complex issues into understandable languages. You find somebody like Kikombe saying 1 billion means, ukibiwa 1 billion ni 70,000 a day. Hiyo inaeleweka na kila mtu kwa ground. When somebody understands you have stolen for me 70,000 shillings, they understand the impact of 1 billion. And so it starts with us changing as the voters, civic education, understanding that money is coming and being prepared not to be swayed by the political class, and being ready to position our mind and our voting patterns in a manner that will reflect our lives 5 years down the line. Lastly, it goes at looking at these leaders and who they are, what they have done in their previous lives, and what they are bringing to the table. And it goes back to also a generational conspiracy as young people. Going for these seats, the MCA seats, going for MP seats, going for senatorial seats, going for gubernatorial seats, and aligning with presidential candidates that sell a mandate further than Ruto must go in one term. Interrogating who they are and what they are bringing to the table, and interrogating what alignments they are also forming as themselves, and the stake we have as young people on the table.
I want to ask you a question, and this is in regards to what the president has been able to say, that you've spoken it well, and you say, we need a candidate that, is beyond just Ruto must go and one term conversations. And the president says the opposition, all of them, have no agenda for the country. All they are saying is one term and Ruto must go. Which one of the political leaders that has been able to offer themselves on the stage for, the presidential seat, do you believe sells the agenda that you as Zuena believes in, and say it is beyond what the president is actually talking about?
First and foremost, when you hear the president saying there's no other agenda than Ruto must go, the first agenda is Ruto must go. Then the second agenda is what we have been giving the people of this country. Let us remember the president has taken us to a very abusive environment politically. We have never witnessed a sitting president say some of the things that he's been saying on top of his cars. And so he has zero right to say that people don't have an agenda, because clearly his agenda is abusive, and he has failed to deliver on his mandate for the people of Kenya.
Do people have
does the opposition have an agenda? Yes, the Linda Mwananchi team has been very clear. We want to ensure that we champion a government that will follow the rule of law. When Edwin Sifuna says, can I just promise first not to kill your children, it is as real as it gets, because every day this government is killing us. If it is not by the bullet, it is the economic sabotage. People are dying of depression and throwing them. Every week, there's a suicidal case that is trending on X. Yesterday, as he has said, Sami Kioko was being harassed because he had gone to just say, pay me what I have delivered, and he was being dismissed. Linda Mwananchi is saying, if we are doing debt, can we go get debt based on how the constitution aligns? If we want to do tender processes for construction of Talanta Stadium or whatever, can we follow the rule of law and not burden Kenyans? If we want to introduce tax, new taxes in this country, can we follow the law? If we want to hold the government accountable, can we follow the law? We cannot have a parliament that is held hostage by the executive and the members of parliament are quiet. So we are taking back the country into the software problem that we have by following the preamble of the constitution. And we need to go back to that document and run government based on the rule of law. We will have gotten it right. Yes.
All right. Fidel, who has an agenda, who doesn't have an agenda?
I think I've been very clear when I speak that the conversation is above one term or two term. It is about where is the challenge. Afterwards, what solutions are you providing? Like, to me as a party, we went to the streets because we were saying that cost of living is too high. We cannot afford our lives as we used to do. Our parents cannot live the good lives that they at least had. The question to us as a party, where I am, come from Safina party, we broke it down to 5 things. Let us do a forensic audit of odious debt.
Yeah.
Number 1, number 2, it is possible for us to have free quality education. I've mentioned to you an ECD school, leave alone the cab road schools, the library that are being done in Murang'a County, specifically Kiaru constituencies. Why isn't it being reciprocated to all constituencies? Let us have free health care to stop this thing that we are seeing here of share being looted. Let the money be focused to the right channels and let us have free health care. Stop domestic borrowing. The taxes that we are collecting are enough for us as citizens because we have equally identified where we are losing from.
Okay.
Let us reduce 16% VAT tax to 5% sales tax. As a party, we stand to that. When you talk about police brutality, let us have boards that are citizen-led, that elect the police that they have to lead them. But anyway, the agenda, I won't say
So
it's
you come from a party that believes the economy should be central in the
whatever we are fighting for. It's not like it's a party thing, but it's something that has been there since 2013, 2012, 2010 there. We were talking about economically liberating our country. That is what people are fighting for. When the economy now is very stupid. But if you solve the problem of the economy, Abby won't come here. She'll be sleeping at her house. She won't have time for you here on TV.
It's true, real estate will thrive.
Okay.
She will be. People will be enjoying their life. Even you might even
Don't do
decide to. But anyway, the question is, as a country, what ideas do we have to salvage our situation? We are talking about things like innovation. You know, there's something I've really discovered from people who come from these first world countries. If you interact with citizens from there, they'll tell you that Kenya is doing what we call leapfrogging. We are not stepping into the technological space. Instead of doing 2 steps, we are leapfrogging technologically. It means that as a country, we have agriculture. This government has failed to look at agriculture deeply because we are an agricultural country.
Okay.
If we really put our focus on agriculture, I believe that the level of exports we'll be doing in this country is very high.
Right.
We speak of things like macadamia, avocado, and all sorts of things. They're able to employ the youth. And let me tell you, let me give you an analogy. If you are funded or you take a loan of 1 million, and I'll draw you back to the Kibaki time when the government does not do domestic borrowing. Let's say you take a 1 million loan. During Kibaki's time, you'll pay 30,000 over a period of 1 year when you take the same amount of money. They were doing something which in financial terms is called hawking loans. If you take that and start a poultry farm, you'll be selling manure, you'll be selling eggs, and it will not be here. Remember, Kenya, we import even eggs and chicken and these poultry products from Uganda and Tanzania. We'll have empowered our youth to do this thing. So it's about us looking at the gaps and then identifying possible solutions that will enable these industries to thrive here.
All right.
We should not be importing things like fertilizers, maize. We have able land. There is no way Turkana country should, since 2013, has gotten over 130 billion. Yet, we continuously keep talking about there is drought in that county. Northeastern is facing a drought. Where are this money is going to? That's why sometimes we might disagree with people like Gachagua, but when he mentions that these leaders are the ones who are building very huge skyscrapers here in Isili, we need to call out this type of gibberish thinking of the leaders and let us focus on what is helping Kenyans. Politics and leadership in government should not be a job, as the legacy politicians have put it.
Should we do away with legacy politicians?
That is not even a question. It should be done as early as yesterday, because that's the problem we have. Recently, you had someone like Kalonzo being asked, what have you done since your 40 years in leadership? his answer was, like, to me, it's an answer that does not even befit you standing up and telling us that you want to be a leader. So he told us, he was saying in national television that he thinks that given that he has worked 40 years, he is now going towards achieving whatever he wanted. If in 40 years you cannot account for one achievement that you have done as a country, as a person, what then gives us hope that when we give you this position, you'll do something? It's about utilizing the small space that you have been given. As an MP, let's say you're voted in, do very good schools, utilize CDF because you have decided now to use it and stick to it because there is how you benefit from it. Use it. Ensure that you do representation. Why are people now very happy towards someone like Sifuna? You do not know Sifuna because he was shouting outside here. You'd easily look at parliament and you'll hear him speak. He was spending his time there. That's why you know him. Do you even know the senator of a county like Tarakanith? You don't know him. What of Mandera? You don't know the senator?
Do you believe he'll be a good candidate if at all he goes for the presidency, though?
Who?
Sifuna.
Sifuna. There are some things he needs to do to show. Like right now, in politics, I'll say there are three things. You need to have identity, and you need to have a manifesto that, and this is in political terms, your manifesto must whip the emotions of the citizens towards you, and you must have logistics. Sifuna has an identity, and the identity is strengthened by him making sure that he builds an agenda that works well with the people. If we have the problem of the economy, have experts like Joho used to do that help you build a manifesto on it. Read through it and internally. He did the 10-point agenda. That tells you that he's mentally woke. So let him have an agenda that builds in towards strengthening his identity. Dealing with the emotions of Kenya is very easy. It's not just one term. Mention to them what is not happening and give them a concrete solution that you know during a time frame will be achieved. Logistics is very easy. People will just come and contribute to you and you'll buy and win.
Is that really happening?
Yes,
we've been
He has opened a platform where people were sending 10 shillings to register, and there are 25 people. They have even 250,000. He'll now use that 250 to work within, let's say, 10 constituencies.
And either way, we've still been going, even, and people have been, I mean, he's attended one of our rallies. You just use your resources and go. In terms of manifesto, he was clear first. Let us interrogate our constitution and see what we need to do right. He is meeting experts. He's going to unveil his manifesto very soon. He's given us some, tasks to do, even as we prepare to push him for presidency. And so he's asking Kenyans, if I turn back, will I find you there? He was
in
the
studios and we asked that question and said, what's Mchoche? Another thing I should also remind you see the youth of this country, and this I keep mentioning to these leaders, the youth of this country are very funny people. Now, Brian Namwai, you might just be controversial here for 1 minute and you will just be announced as the presidential candidate. They started with Omtata here when Omtata was taking people to court. They went to Maraga because of nullifying the elections. Now they're in Sifuna. But for Sifuna, what I'm telling him is tap into this opportunity. Tap into this opportunity and seize it very well. Ensure that you change the system. Do what... I love Trump because Trump does not work according to how people want him to think. He works against what you want. If people want you to follow the route of corruption, go against it. It will be very difficult for these politicians to come back. Some will be looking at these things and running away. But anyway,
you know, we have a war in the Middle East because of this guy that you're saying. He's very
no, I'm not saying that I'm applauding Trump. What I'm saying is, you see how people expect Brian to follow a given route. If you are to follow west, go north. You change the country.
I got so much invested in this one, I forgot that I'm out of time. Thank you so much, Fidel. Fidel and Ziona, for your time, for coming here on set to help us make sense of the events that are happening in the country as far as state of affairs is concerned. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
We do this again when God says we do, right? All right, we take a break here on the program. When we come back, we'll be speaking to the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran on the issues to do with war, peace, and defense. He'll be joining us in just a few minutes to make sense of exactly what is happening in the Middle East and whether there is, light at the end of the tunnel as far as the end of the war is concerned.